Sam here. Today we are going to talk about gluing up porcelain miter edges. Now, a lot of this will apply to natural stone, quartz, or solid surface materials, but there are some very specific nuances when it comes to porcelain that I want to make sure I cover in this video, because porcelain's the new hot material. I know a lot of people don't want to work with it. There's other people that do want to work with it. There are a lot of opportunities with porcelain. So I want to go over the most common edge joint for porcelain to kind of clarify what you guys should be doing and making sure you guys are getting off on the right foot so you guys can put the best possible product in front of your clients as you can. So when I say a miter edge, the reason you guys are using that, for anybody that's new in the stone industry, a miter edge is going to be a diagonal 45-degree cut on both pieces of material. So there is a 90 in the corner, and that is what your miter is. You are mitering each piece at 45 degrees, so you have a 90-degree angle. Obviously, if you had a weird edge, you could change that miter and have it any angle you want. But the reason you do a miter edge, particularly with porcelain materials, is because this top color is not the same color as the through body. So you're doing a miter edge so that wraps down, comes across the top and wraps down the edge. You might do a miter edge on quartz or natural stone because you want the veining to come across that edge and wrap down. For instance, on a waterfall island, you are putting 45s on those drop legs so that any veining or any direction in that material is going to come down across the top and wrap down that waterfall edge. So whenever you're doing edges in porcelain and there's any sort of drop edge like this, it is almost always going to be a miter edge, because nobody wants to see this top coat and then have a band of material on the edge. It looks pretty tacky. I do know there's a lot of people that are doing that for like pool coping or bathroom vanities where they're just leaving it the 2 cm thickness. But if you really want to take your game to the next level, you really want to master these miter edges. Now, one of the drawbacks to doing miter edges is you can't really have any radius edges. I mean, you could, but you would have to hand grind that or have to be cut on a CNC because that miter is very difficult to cut on a radius. It's going to either take a ton of skill to do it by hand. Now, if you have automated technology, yeah, then you could probably, CNC out a radius miter edge, no problem. However, with porcelain, it's pretty much flat, so every mitered edge is just going to be on a straight, square countertop. So today we're going to talk about how do you glue up this edge so that you get it perfect every time and you get the best finished product possible. So first thing I want to show you is, here's a piece of porcelain that is not glued up. We have a 45 on this side. We have a 45 on this side. These guys are going to come together like this, boop, and then basically they're going to glue together in this miter. Now, if it's natural stone, quartz, you guys are a lot of times just stacking the edges like this, and you're just putting a bead of glue in here. You're clamping this down, polishing this edge, and you got a finished edge. However, when it comes to porcelain, you will notice that this through body color does not match the color of the top material. And on this one, it's actually a fairly close match. This is actually a pretty close match for porcelain. Normally what we see is, you might have a light gray top coat, but you've got a black through body, or you've got a white through body. Generally, the color of the top coat does not match the through body color. If you look at this one, we've even got one through body color here that's sort of like a chocolate, and then we've got more like a mocha brown here in the middle. There's like this squiggly vein that's about a 1/4 inch thick that's going through the middle. We've also seen porcelain that has 2 different through bodies, where it might have a chocolate brown on one edge, a light gray band in the middle, and a chocolate band on the top portion. I think we got a picture of that. I'll throw it up here on the screen so you can see. Basically what I'm getting at is, when you are doing a miter edge, you cannot choose the color of the adhesive based on the top coat of the porcelain. If you do that, let's say this is this dark brown here, and you get like a black or a chocolate brown adhesive, and your through body is light gray, which happens quite a bit. Sorry, there's like a piece of fuzz blowing there. If you do that, and you were to get the chocolate brown adhesive, and you got a light gray through body, when you glue these pieces together, and it's glued together like this, when you come back and you polish this edge, you're going to be exposing, even though you're only polishing a 32nd to a 16th of an inch to knock down this edge so it's not sharp, you are exposing the through body under that top layer. And when you do that, you will be able to see the glue line down that through body. And I know it's a 32nd of an inch or 16th. You're like, hey, Sam, no one's going to see that. Trust me, you will see it. We have had fabricators use a dark adhesive to match their top coat. It's a light gray or a white through body. When they polish that down, you see the top coat, you see a band of the light through body, the dark adhesive, another band of through body, and then the top coat on the edge. It makes like a sandwich, and it just, could you say that's just the way it is? Sure, but that is not delivering the best product to your customer. So we want to show you, how do you avoid that? How do you get it so when you polish this down, the color of the adhesive matches that through body, and you've got a nice crisp look that the customer's not going to be like, hey, what's that stripe down the middle there? We want you to avoid all of that. So what we want to do is we need to match the through body. And the best way to do this is to take your through body. You can take some water or Windex, get this wet. If you're looking at it now, you can see when it's wet, it's much darker than when it's dry. You can see now it's drying and it's fading back to kind of the light gray. But you want to pick your adhesive color when this is wet, because when you polish this edge and you get it polished up at a high grit, it polishes it and it makes the through body look like it does when it's wet. So if you were to pick a light gray adhesive, and this is a dark brown, like when this gets wet here and it's a dark brown, if you picked a light gray that matched here, when you get this polished up, you could have a light gray stripe down the middle of your miter edge. You want to make sure this is wet and it's nice and dark, and get an adhesive match based off of this. So now, once you have your adhesive match and you know, hey, we've got it, it's chocolate brown is what we're gonna do. You're gonna come over. What we recommend is, you've got your countertop kind of hanging off the edge here. You're gonna tape on your miter edge so that you can just put your glue in and then just fold it up. I'm gonna be doing it here on the table, so I'm gonna kind of modify kind of how I do it just so I can demonstrate for this video. So I'm gonna kind of put this finished edge over here for now so I got room to work. I'm gonna bring the miter edge together. So I've got it right here. If you were doing this yourself for an actual countertop, I would highly recommend you use the green G-tape. The green G-tape has some elasticity to it, so you can kind of put it on your joint, stretch it out, and then when it kind of gets taped on there, it'll kind of pull it back together. So you kind of got the natural elasticity of the tape working to help you. Here, what I've got is, I've got some masking tape because that's what was in my truck, so that's what we're gonna use for this demo. Again, if I was doing this for an actual customer, I would use G-tape or something similar so that I've got the elasticity helping me get that seam nice and tight. So I'm just gonna put on a few pieces here so that this gets held together. So now it is all taped. So when I fold these together, the tape's just gonna kind of hold it together while it sits in that miter. So I've got it taped, it's ready to go. I tape all the way down my countertop. I've got my miters there. Some of you guys might have miter clamps that can help you guys do it. Great. If you don't have miter clamps, you can just go ahead and fold it up with tape, the G-tape, put another piece of tape over the edge every 8 inches or so, and tape it down to the counter, and that's gonna hold that miter closed for you. So we now know it's ready to go, it's taped. We've got our adhesive here. I've got a Mesa adhesive, it's kind of a chocolate brown that'll kind of match this. We're gonna go through, we're gonna burp our adhesive to make sure we've got both catalyst and resin. And we're gonna purge it. So I've got a little bit of catalyst, I got a little bit of resin. So we are good to go. I'm gonna put my tip on. Put that on, put my retaining ring on. And now I'm gonna purge out about a tip's worth of adhesive to make sure I've got a good mix and that everything's working good. So I've got a nice purge there. What I'm gonna do now is my first bead is gonna be down here in the bottom of the miter. And the reason I'm doing that is when these two pieces close together, that joint in the middle is closing first. So it's closing and it's gonna squeeze glue up towards this direction. If I don't have any glue down at the bottom of the miter, that's gonna close with no glue in it. It's gonna keep closing. It's gonna finally hit the glue and it's gonna squeeze the glue towards the top. So I wanna make sure that we have adhesive glue right down here in the bottom of this miter. So when it starts to close, that glue is forced back up towards the top. Now I'm also gonna come back and I'm gonna put another bead of glue right here at about the halfway mark. And the reason I do that is now we have 2 passes of adhesive. If there was any reason that there wasn't catalyst or an even mix of resin, I now have 2 different areas and 2 passes. The odds of there not being catalyst in one spot is slim to none. I know I'm going to get a nice consistent bond, and it's going to kick off with no problem. Once I have my adhesive down it, I'm going to run this bead all the way down the countertop on both sides, so I've got a nice coat. I'm going to take this, I'm going to fold it up. I can see it starting to squeeze out. I kind of just go slow and work it in there, slow and work it in there. I open it back up. I've got a clear bead all the way down. It's coating everything. I'm going to go ahead and squish it up, boop, got it, it's closed. I'm going to take another piece of G-tape. I'm going to put it over every, 6 to 8 inches so I can get this joint nice and tight. The G-tape is holding this joint closed on the bottom. We're good to go. The last thing I'm going to do, because I'm kind of picky, is I'm going to come back here and I'm going to wipe all this extra glue off. I'm going to pull this off with my finger, just like I'm cleaning out a caulk joint, so that it's nice and smooth in there. I know a lot of you guys will argue, nobody's ever going to see this. Why do you waste your time with it? For 25 years, I built super high-end luxury homes. Every single little detail matters to me. I was only working with the best. I want to make sure that it is good. So this is my own thing. I know there's a lot of people that argue with me. Oh, it's good enough. In my world, good enough was never good enough. You were always looking for one more thing to do to take it to the next level. And so when you looked at our countertops, it was mandated in our standard operating procedures that if you were a fabricator, you polish that return back. It was always smooth. You smoothed all this down. Anything a customer could possibly see, you made sure that it looked impeccable because you wanted the best presentation possible for the customer. Now, that is glued up and that is good to go. You're basically going to wait your 15 to 20 minutes for this to cure and harden. Once it's all cured and hardened, you can pull off the tape. You're going to come back. You're going to take your polisher. You're going to polish down this edge to knock off the sharp edge. If you look at this, it is razor sharp. This has not been polished. If a customer were to slide their hand down this, it would definitely cut it open. So you're just going to knock off that sharp point, and that is what is going to expose the through body and the glue line. So you want those to match. Now, one thing I want to talk about here is, Sam, why should we use a cartridge adhesive? Our guys use all of the knife grades. And yeah, you could use a knife grade adhesive. You could look at this, you could squeeze out your knife grade, you could mix it up, you could add your pigments, you could use your hardener on it. And yeah, Big Dog sells Seam King. It's an amazing adhesive. It is a great adhesive. My thoughts are this. When it comes to doing miter edges, you are working fast. You have a ton of adhesive to put down. It needs to be flawless. Your customer is going to see this. It is a long seam. If you're doing this and you're mixing it up and you're mixing it up and you're adding your adhesives and you're kicking it off, all of your hardener is put in at one time. You put in all your hardener, you have mixed that now, the clock is running. So you are starting to spread out your adhesive here on this edge, okay? You get down here. All right, I'm gonna fold up this miter. You fold up this miter, you're taping it, you're taping it, you're taping it. Let's say you wasted even 2 or 3 minutes taping up this one. That resin is kicking. The clock is on what you've mixed up on your piece of cardboard when you're using the knife grade. Now you're moving over to this corner. You're putting your adhesive on it. You're spreading it. You're folding it up. You're taping it, taping it, taping it. You're buttering the corner. Even if you're working with 2 guys and you're going around, from the time you start here to the time you get around even a small countertop like this, it could be 8 to 10 minutes. You have put all that hardener in. The clock is starting the minute you have mixed all of your knife grade on that paper, because you have put all the hardener in it and the clock is running on how much working time you have to get around. When it comes to the adhesives in the tip, the resin is only mixing with the hardener in the tip. So you can go ahead and squeeze out. Oh, I did this edge. I'm going to set down the gun for a minute. You've just got a little bit of resin in here and hardener kicking off. You get the next one prepped and you're ready to go. You go ahead and you squeeze out some more. Your adhesive in the tip is only mixing with the hardener when you're actually squeezing that out. So you dispense this, you've got 10 minutes to work with it. You can fold it up and go. You purge a little bit more, you go and you go down the next one, you've got a full 10 minutes. You are not at risk of, by the time you get over here on that cardboard, if that adhesive has been hardening for 10 minutes, yes, you can re-mix it over here so it stays pliable, but all those molecular bonds have already started taking place, and now you're ripping them apart and spreading it down on this one to get that final edge on. This edge is going to be maybe half as strong or a quarter as strong as your first edge, because that adhesive has been drying and curing on that piece of cardboard the whole time. And every time you mix it, once it's starting to kick off, you are pulling apart all of those bonds, and they are never going to rejoin quite as tight. That's why if you are doing miter edges or you're doing any edge laminations in the shop, I highly recommend you look at using a cartridge system. This will take your game to the next level. You're going to have a perfect color match every time, and you're going to have really strong seams that you can rely on and count on, because you've just got a consistent bead that's just curing as you use it. Like I say, again, I'm not trying to say this is what you have to do. I'm just trying to say if you really want to give your customers the best finished product possible, you really should look at using an actual cartridge system anytime you're doing a miter edge or anytime you're doing any sort of edge lamination. Where I recommend you use the knife grade is anytime you're in the field and you've got a field seam that comes together, even if you've got like a waterfall edge in the field, man, this is perfect. You can find the color exactly what you need, tint it to what you need, spread it on that little tiny seam all at once, close it up. It works perfect, right? Every adhesive is good. They're all beneficial. You just need to be using them for the right application when you are working with them. Now, that's my thoughts on the knife grade and the cartridge. If you're doing a miter edge or any sort of lamination, I recommend this. The one thing also that I want to talk to you guys about is cleaning your seams. If you're using solid surface, clean that seam with denatured alcohol and get all of the dirt off of it. If you're working with porcelain or natural stone or quartz, clean that seam with acetone and make sure there is no dirt in that seam. Now, this is an MMA, methyl methacrylate adhesive. Even if you squirted that edge down with WD-40 and then you would put this adhesive in it, it would bond the two pieces together. The methacrylate would eat through the WD-40 and it would bond those materials together. The problem is 90% of the time when you have a bad seam or a seam line, it is because somebody did not clean the dirt out of that seam appropriately. And when it comes to porcelain, that is very particular because you are working with very small joints that will be opened up and they will be subject to scrutiny. So make sure you are cleaning your seam ahead of time with acetone if it's quartz, porcelain, or natural stone, or denatured alcohol if it is solid surface. If you guys will follow these steps, you guys will have perfect seams every time. When you guys polish this out, it's just going to be a nice clean look with the porcelain, and you guys are going to be delighting your customers every single day and getting more business via word of mouth. So if you guys have any questions or want any more details, feel free to give us an email or shoot us a call. We love helping you take your business to the next level.